Destiny Reboot. Chapter 1, The Inevitable Punishment. The night is like ink, the lights are flickering, and the prosperity and depth of the capital coexist. Shenzhou, this name is as loud as thunder among the famous families in the capital, but it also represents the helpless image of a genius. As the only son of the Shen family, Shenzhou was born to be the pride of the sky, and there are infinite talents hidden under his elegant appearance, but because of this, his heart and behavior are more indulgent in pleasure, have no respect for the elders, gamble all night long, spend money like dirt, and most of the so-called talents are just fame. However, the mistake made by Shenzhou this time could not be ignored no matter what. That gamble with his friends lost all the family's wealth, and not only that, but it also caused a crisis within the family. Shenzhou's father, Shen Taiyu, valued the family's reputation and decided to give him the most severe punishment. Zhou'er, Shen Taiyu's tone was cold, but he couldn't hide a trace of regret in his eyes. You can't do this nonsense anymore. The hope of the family and the burden of the Shen family's future are all on you alone. This time, you have to pay the price. However, the disdain and stubbornness in Shenzhou's eyes did not decrease. Standing in front of his father, he stiffened his back, but the corners of his mouth were faintly sneering. Father, I don't need your lessons. In the face of this stubbornness, Shen Taiyu did not get angry again, but said coldly, I have already chosen the way to punish you. This time, you'll enter Destiny, a challenging virtual world. I will give you a new life, change your arrogant personality, and teach you respect and humility, as well as true responsibility. Destiny. Shenzhou was slightly stunned. That's just a game, why take it seriously? Shen Taiyu shook his head slowly. This is not just a game, but a baptism of your soul. You will experience life and death, love and hate, success and failure, and eventually, you will find your true self. For some reason, the disdain in Shenzhou's heart was slightly shaken, but he still gritted his teeth and insisted, since that's the case, I'll give it a try. Anyway, it's just a waste of time. So, under the arrangement of the family, Shenzhou entered the world of Destiny with several of his friends and a strange creature named Little Black Dragon. Their goal is simple and straightforward, to get through this punishment, change themselves, and regain the direction that belongs to Shenzhou. Chapter 2, The Beginning of the Virtual World. Destiny is a massive role-playing game built from the Western fantasy world, with a high level of immersion, in which players can experience countless adventures and choices in life. Shenzhou and his friends entered the game and immediately felt a wonderful atmosphere that was different from reality. When Shenzhou woke up, he found himself standing on a vast grassland, surrounded by towering ancient trees, and a strong aura of magic filled the air. His body was no longer what he was in real life, but was molded into a swordsman, a warrior in heavy armor. It's... where? Shenzhou muttered to himself, but found that he was no longer able to speak with his voice, but was forced to rely on actions in the virtual world to communicate. His friends also appeared, and one by one they became blurred, as if all had been reshaped. Some became archers, others were mages, but no matter who they were, they all had a strangeness and doubt about the world. Shenzhou. A man in light armor shouted loudly. This was Shenzhou's good friend, Yeswanyan. He pointed helplessly at the strange little creature beside him. This. What is it? Shenzhou followed the sound and saw a small black dragon lying leisurely on Yeswanyan's shoulder, its body small and slender, and there was an innocent light in its eyes. It's... Little Black Dragon? Shenzhou raised his eyebrows and looked at this extremely cute little dragon, and wondered a little in his heart. I remember that this little guy was not summoned by me casually, right? The little black dragon's eyes widened and blinked, completely unimpressed, as if he didn't care about the situation around him. Forget it, whatever he is. Shenzhou shook his head and stepped forward, but since we're all here, let's start the adventure. Chapter 3, The First Trial. Shenzhou's initial mission is to lead his team through a basic trial, defeating the monster hordes in the grassland. This is a basic quest in the game that will help players become familiar with the game and give them a better understanding of their character's skills. Shenzhou organized and commanded his friends one by one to start challenging the monsters. However, all this is not as simple as he thinks. In this virtual world, the player's actions will directly affect the surrounding environment, and the enemies will be far more intelligent than he expected. These monsters are too strong, aren't they? Yeswanyan controlled the bow and arrow attack while shouting loudly, we can't deal with it at all. Keep calm. Shenzhou frowned and ordered, Yeswanyan, you support in the rear, Tang Jin, you go and attract the attention of the monsters, and the rest of the people will clean up these monsters with me. At this moment, a huge werewolf monster suddenly appeared, a figure more than 2 meters tall towering, and its sharp claws pounced on Shenzhou with devastating power. How is this possible? Shenzhou's eyes widened, and he dodged sharply, but he was still hit in the shoulder by the werewolf, and he immediately took a few steps backwards in pain. It seems that the world is much more dangerous than I thought. Shenzhou was shocked in his heart, feeling a pressure that he had never felt before, and suddenly, he realized that everything he had learned here would be related to his fate. Chapter 4, A Personality Change. As Shen Zhou and his teammates' adventures in Destiny deepen, he gradually discovered that the game was more than just a game to kill time. Every defeat, every battle, made him realize that his past frivolity and indulgence could no longer continue. He is no longer a gentleman who simply relies on family resources, but must use his own ability to face every test. Every battle in the game, and even every decision, profoundly changes his mindset in reality. He stopped taking life lightly and began to truly realize the importance of responsibility. In the end, when Shen Zhou was faced with a crucial choice, he did not hesitate to choose to take responsibility and lead the team to the ultimate trial, defeating the dominant enemy in the world of Destiny, an existence called the Abyss Lord. This decisive battle will determine whether he can truly change his fate. Chapter 5, The Power of Rebirth. After a lot of hard work, Shen Zhou and his teammates finally succeeded in defeating the Abyss Lord, and he found his true self in this battle. He is no longer the gentleman who only knows how to enjoy himself, but a hero who knows how to take responsibility and struggle. When he returned to the real world, he was no longer the disappointing only son of the Shen family, but redeemed his self-esteem with his own efforts, and began to face life with a new perspective and mentality. Destiny resets, and he is ready to meet every challenge in the future. Chapter 6, The Intersection of Reality and Virtuality. Shen Zhou's adventures in Destiny have changed him, not only in his abilities in the virtual world, but also in his re-understanding of life and responsibility. When he completes the final trial and successfully returns to the real world, he finds that he is no longer the passive, responsibility-evading young man. He became calmer and more sensible, and he also knew how to get along with his family. Shen Zhou, who returned to reality, first faced the family meeting. His father, Shen Taiyu, was still sitting behind that magnificent desk, his expression still resolute, and there was a hint of imperceptible expectation in his eyes. Zhou, during this time, I already know your experience in the virtual world. Shen Taiyu's tone was still calm, but it seemed to be a little more gentle. You have changed, this is exactly the change I want to see. Shen Zhou took a deep breath and stood in front of his father. His tone was no longer so stubborn. Father, I understand, in the past, I only knew dependence, I didn't understand responsibility, and I didn't really realize the importance of the family. This experience taught me that responsibility is always paramount, both in the virtual world and in reality. From today onwards, I am willing to take on my own responsibilities and lay a more solid foundation for my family and myself. After hearing this, Shen Taiyu showed a smile of relief in his eyes and nodded. You finally understand. I never want to punish you, but I want you to grow up and take on the responsibility of this family. Shen Zhou is no longer the gentleman who only knows pleasure. The changes in his heart have made him more calm and rational, and he has also begun to face the family's affairs more attentively. In the following months, he not only took over part of the Shen family's business, but also began to actively participate in the family's decision-making, applying his experience and learning to reality, bringing unprecedented changes to the Shen family. However, despite his growth in reality, Shen Zhou has never been able to forget that adventure in Destiny. The time he spent in the virtual world with his friends was like a memory that will never fade, deeply engraved in his heart. Whenever he thinks back to those moments when he fought side by side with his teammates and faced danger, his heart always warms up. Chapter 7, The Test After the Abyss. As reality changes, Shen Zhou begins to gradually discover that his emotions for the game Destiny are not completely over. By chance, he logs back into Destiny, ready to return to that familiar world and relive the adventure that has brought him so many challenges and growth. However, when he re-enters the game, he is surprised to find that the world in the game is not as simple as he remembers. Since he defeated the Abyss Lord, the game world seems to have entered a new phase, and the rules of this world have changed subtly. What's even stranger is that some hints and mysterious powers begin to appear in the game that he has never seen before. What's going on? Shen Zhou explored around the game and found that the area he was in was suddenly surrounded by a powerful energy place, and the surrounding scene became blurred, as if the whole world was quietly changing. He decided to investigate the anomaly further and contacted his friends in the game. Not long after, Shen Zhou met several old friends such as Yes Wanyan, Tang Jin, and Yuan Biang. They are equally puzzled by the unusual changes in the game, and they can't explain why the game world has changed so dramatically. We should be looking for answers. Yes Wanyan said with a solemn face, this is no longer the game we played when we first came in, this is a crisis that really needs to be solved. That's right, Tang Jin nodded, maybe what we're facing is not only the enemies in the game, but also deeper strengths. Chapter 8, The Truth of Fate. As Shen Zhou and his friends continue to investigate the anomaly, they discover an astonishing secret. It turns out that Destiny is not just a game, it hides a vast plan behind it, which aims to use the player's experience to select the most powerful human forces to prepare for the impending global crisis. What's even more shocking is that Shen Zhou and his friends are actually part of this plan, whether they want to or not, they have already been involved in this huge conspiracy. What we've been through is no coincidence. Shen Zhou looked at the screen in front of him, his heart full of countless questions. Our adventure may be for some greater purpose. As the investigation deepens, Shen Zhou finally uncovers the truth behind destiny. This game is not just virtual, it is inextricably linked to the real world. Players go through everything they need to reach their full potential in the real world and embrace the global changes that are coming. Chapter 9, The Choice of Fate. With all this truth revealed, Shen Zhou and his friends have to face a major choice. Should they continue to accept this test of fate and become the last hope of mankind, or choose to give up and return to ordinary life? In the final battle of the game, Shen Zhou stood on the brink of a decisive battle, and he understood that no matter what, he could no longer evade his responsibilities. This time, he had to make a choice for himself, for his family, and for the whole world. I choose to be who I am supposed to be. Shen Zhou thought silently in his heart, clenched the sword in his hand, and led his teammates to the final battle of fate. Chapter 10, Rebirth and Future. When Shen Zhou stood on that familiar grassland and finally defeated the last enemy, he felt an unprecedented power surging in his heart. As the game world collapses, his body begins to return to the real world. And at this moment, he knew that he had finally found his true self. After returning to reality, Shen Zhou is no longer the young man who only knows how to have fun. He began to devote himself to the family business, actively participated in social reforms, and stood up in various crises. His growth and change have won the respect of his family, as well as his inner peace and strength. Fate may be a predestined test, but Shen Zhou understands that the real fate is in his own hands.